though, like the Minnesota Timberwolves, who can give a first rounder, and then they have Karl Anthony Towns, Edwards, and him.
Yeah,
I don't want that to happen, but because that's one less spot next year for our teams. But
I think the CJ should go to like the Spurs.
oh yeah,
Or like I think he would thrive. He would thrive in the Spurs. I think he would do really well. I think Portland always trades really well with Toronto. I could see.
well, and Toronto, I think they wanted to maybe do bad and trade some players, but they're overachieving right now. Like they're above 500, I think. So now they kind of have to just keep. They kind of just have to keep going for it now. It's like if the players are refusing to lose, then you have to say, okay, well, we already have Pascal Siakam. We have some good people around him. Let's trade some of our first round picks and go get someone like CJ and keep competing.
And Toronto's still using. They still have Gary Trent Jr. Right?
Yeah, he plays a lot now. He plays
him.
a lot, which I like him. Yeah, he lit us up earlier in the year, so I was like, God damn it.
He's really good. He has a huge future, I think.
I mean, he's still plenty young, and they're in 9th. So they're in the play-in. They're 20-19. This is crazy. So normally, the East, when they used to only let 8 teams in, the East would send in 4 teams that are good and 4 teams that are below 500, like dumpster teams. They can't even put 8 teams in the playoffs with a winning record. Now they have 10, and then in the West, Timberwolves are 20-22, Clippers are 21-22, Sacramento is 18-27, and those are their play-in game people. Portland's still only 2 games back. San Antonio is only a game and a half back, and they're 16-26.
That's crazy. It's just flip-flop, man. It just completely.
And everyone's always said all the powers in the West, but there's a couple reasons why that's probably not the case anymore. One, like the Lakers just haven't been the Lakers yet. So that's kind of diminished the power there. They're 21-21. Denver still has Murray out. Who knows when he's coming back? And then one of their players, I can't remember what his name is, the guy who throws his back out all the time, the young guy. He threw his back out again, so he's out indefinitely. So there's just teams like we're still dealing with Phoenix and Utah as like the top dogs, and Memphis.
I think one thing I noticed the other day, what I was thinking about the other day is that I think we all knew the Bulls were going to be good this season. I did not think they were going to be
first place.
Is what they're good. Yeah, like the Bulls could very well win the East.
Yeah, they looked really good the last time that they played, I believe, the Nets. But then last night they got their dicks stomped in by the Warriors. And that was because the night before on a back-to-back, the Warriors had to go to Milwaukee. And Milwaukee doubled their score going into halftime. It was insane. So I think they were a little upset in that game yesterday, and they took it out on the Bulls. But Levine was out, and Levine might be hurt now. But as long as they're back to fully healthy by the playoffs, I think the Bulls can for sure win the East. I think anyone can. And the main reason is that we don't know what's going to happen with home games for Kyrie yet. Yeah. He looked great on the road this week. He looked good in Portland, even though they lost. The dude hadn't played a game, and he comes in very first game and looks like Kyrie Irving, like identical.
He comes in coast to coast. He goes to Portland.
Yeah.
So so that you have to have the vaccine in New York? Is that what the deal is? You have to
or I just found this out this week, or you can pay a fine. They can pay a fine for every home game they want them to play. So maybe they just save that for the playoffs.
I could see a team do that.
Especially if they're sweeping, right? Like then they're only playing 2 games at home, to win 2 games in a row, 2 games at home, 2 games in a row. Like and what it sounds like is it's not even we're talking about tens of thousands on franchises that make billions of dollars. So they probably could have already done this. I think they're just holding off. And then the other thing I was seeing this week is that the NBA is so say he did get vaccinated, and maybe this isn't the case for him because he's not going to, but for the other players that keep missing time, if you're vaccinated and have the booster, they will no longer day-to-day test you. So we're going to see those huge waves, like San Antonio had 8 people out last week. We're going to see these huge waves disappear of teams missing people. Okay. Interesting.
to do it though. Kyrie's not going to do it though.
No, but interesting how much things change when they. Well, yeah. Like it's like the NFL when they rolled out like 10 backup quarterbacks in a weekend, and then now with NBA teams having to sign. We had like 3 guys on a 10-day contract last week. We have 19 guys on our 14-man roster right now because the 10-day contracts haven't expired yet. That can't happen. It's not a good product. But on the inverse side of it, even though it is kind of flip-floppy, on the other side, at least they're saying, if you're not showing any signs, we're rewarding you for going and getting this taken care of.
Yeah.
Like, if we wouldn't know that you had anything, if we weren't day-to-day testing you, then maybe we shouldn't day-to-day test you. So, I don't know. It's interesting. That's contradicting.
Nice, it's probably nice to not get tested every day.
What last season people said is it was a huge detriment to the home teams, not the away teams. And I think last year was like the highest win percentage for road teams in the history of the league, because when you're the home team, you have to show up to the facility at like 8, 9 in the morning, even if the game's at 7 at night. And you're just waiting around. You get your test in the morning, you're waiting around, then you go to practice, and then you don't leave again for the rest of the day. So the away team just gets to show up and play, right? So I think that's going to be
hotel room for a while, and
they just get to like chill, work out, relax, go eat wherever they want, and then go take care of business. So it'll be interesting. I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the way. I will say if that does end up being the case, I think that kicks in like this next week. If that does end up being the case, it sucks. It's the week after my team had 8 people out, because we had won 5 of 6. We had moved into the 10th spot. Sacramento started losing. Portland got Damian Lillard out. They started losing. So we could just be average and keep that 10th spot. And then we lose like 6 of our last 7. So wish they would have made that rule a little sooner, because we were finally starting to click. But I don't know. I'm also in a situation that like you're probably into, where it's like, do you want your team to even start clicking, or do you just want, this is going to be a really good draft. If your team is barely sniffing the 10 seed, do you really want to go play one play-in game and lose and then go home?
Not with the record well under 500. I don't.
I don't.
So let's say they were near. So let's say the 10 seed. It was more like the East.
Yeah.
Where they were more at least near 500 or at 500. I'd be like, get your shit together. Let's go. Let's make a run. But the fact that it's so far, they're so far behind. We're 9 games under 500 for the 11th spot right now.
And you're also 8th from the bottom. So you have the 8th highest chances at the first overall pick. We have the 6th highest chances. We're down below the Pelicans now, which is, I don't know. I am embarrassed to be below the Pelicans and right around where the Pacers and Thunder are. But, you go on a real good losing streak, you're talking about having a top 5 pick. So that seems more important than just watching your team win games. I love watching the Spurs win. I hate watching them lose. Like, really hate watching them lose. And I'll still watch even though I know that's probably the outcome. So I'm just torturing myself at that point. But it's better than getting the 8th pick in the draft every year, right? Like, are you going to turn your franchise around with the 8th pick in the draft? If you get lucky.
Maybe.
If you get lucky and draft Donovan Mitchell or, Jokic or any of those people that fell. Yeah. But if you want like a Luka or a Kevin Durant or a Trae Young, you need a top 4 pick.
You had mentioned this in the chat, but do you think the Knicks are going to are going to try to get Zion also? Do you think that whole Duke team or at least the big their big guys?
Don't even be surprised if they try to pull in Trey Jones from the Spurs, because that's their point guard. Then they would have it all. But that's why I wanted to talk basketball today. I thought it was really interesting because Cam Reddish was out for a decent amount last season, and when the draft happened, he was the 3rd of the big 3 from Duke to get drafted. And I always thought he had the highest potential because he's big enough to guard anybody. He can shoot the lights out. Where Cam or where the other two, you never knew if they were actually going to figure out their shot. He had the best likelihood of being an NBA shooter. And then he kind of just didn't do anything his first year. People forgot about him, was hurt his second year, comes back in the playoffs last year and looks amazing. But there's no spot for him in Atlanta. Like, That's the other reason he didn't play a lot. So when they made a move for him last week, or really in the last couple of days, I said, oh, that's interesting. We got 2 of the 3 Duke guys, and Zion's contract is he can technically not re-sign this next summer.
And the Pelicans are bad. So they're bad. So there is like there's less incentive to hang on to him if they can get a bunch of pieces for him,
right?
Stuff for him, because they're not good.
And all they have to say is, "Hey Zion, your contract's up in the summer. Are you going to resign?" And then all he has to say is no. And then what else are you going to do? You have to trade him.
Remember the Knicks? They wanted Zion. They didn't get the number 1 pick. I remember they were talking about how they were going to trade. Well, actually, see, it was interesting because the talks were that they were going to get Zion and they were going to try trading him for Anthony Davis.
Right, they were going to make some move,
and then all of it went down the way it did.
Them not getting the first overall pick completely changed everything, and I don't think anyone saw it coming, which was awesome because it was just classic New York. Classic New York Knicks. It's just they even nicked the lottery, which is impossible to do because they have no say in it, but they somehow screwed that up.
It's not even their control. They somehow. Well, no. How they nicked it was being too vocal about what they were going to do. Oh, we're going to get the number 1 pick. We're going to trade him. We want to trade him for Anthony Davis and.
Well, yeah. I mean, but even if they didn't and they kept him, right, then they have a young star, and that puts people in the seats if he ever plays.
Vocal about it, I think, is how they nicked it.
Yeah. Well, then when you intentionally lose to get the number 1 pick, or you're set up to lose because the players aren't trying to lose, but the team is. When you put yourself in that position, and it's a lottery, it's not the NFL where it's guaranteed. Worst record gets the first pick. Right. When you put yourself in that position intentionally and you don't get it, like, that's just what happens. That being said, though, sometimes the second, third, fourth guy in the draft ends up being better anyways. And in this case, it's Ja Morant. If you're New York, you could have gotten Ja Morant still, and they didn't. So they screwed up either way. But yeah, so now they have 2 of the 3 Duke guys. I don't think New Orleans is going to be able to re-sign Zion. The main thing, I guess, is, and I was thinking about this week when I mentioned it in the chat, is Zion's fat. He doesn't really seem like a Tom Thibodeau player, like a hard-nosed coach, play defense, grind stuff out player, unless he really gets in good shape. But maybe Thibodeau, like he's been used in Minnesota and other places, maybe he's just like a stopgap until they get the players they want. Like, whoever the GM is makes a move on Zion. Then they have all the Duke guys. They're a young team. They get rid of Thibodeau for some flashier coach who lets them play the way they want to play. And that's when they move on. Like, hey, Thibodeau, thanks for the back-to-back years in the playoffs. See you later. That's speculation. But I think they do it. And not only that, but I don't know if they wait until the summer. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to pull something off this trade deadline, because like, your draft picks are worth so much more now because they're speculation. We talk about it every year, but once you get closer to the draft and you know where you're picking and all that kind of stuff, it loses its luster, right? Like, oh, I know who this turned into. Like, I know now that the 12th overall pick is Josh Primo, and for the Spurs, and it means less to me, right? Like, once you know, there's no mystery of how good the potential could be for this pick.
There's a face to the name, so it's a little.
Yeah, or there's an exact number on where the Knicks are drafting. So, like, you know that this isn't a top 8 pick now or something like that. It's the 15th pick.
For the Pelicans to luck out and get that number 1 draft pick that ended up being Zion Williamson, and it's
right.
It ended up being exactly how it's been. I mean, he's been hurt every season,
and the thing is if they keep losing, they could end up with the number 1 pick again this year, and maybe it's someone better. But I don't know. I don't trust that team to do anything right at all. Yeah, so I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded while he's still not playing this year. Like he's still not even back yet, and they might just ship him out.
But the guy he has a hard time staying in playing weight while he's not playing. So I haven't even seen him, but I don't.
Oh, you can Google it. Every time that you Google it, it seems like he's a little bigger than he was before. So I think if you just Google Zion Williams and fat, he's got to be. There's got to be some good ones. Most of these are photoshopped, but
the one I just found. Hold on, I'm gonna pull this. This is pretty funny.
Or you can, go ahead and pull it, but
pull this up.
Or you can Google Charles Barkley calls Zion Williamson fat, which happened last month, which is pretty good too. Like he sees him on the sideline at the game, and he's just like he is, and it's funnier because it's Charles Barkley.
Yeah,
that's like the pot calling the kettle black in that situation.
Yeah,
but it's good.
But there are a lot of like in that when Zion retires one day and is not forced to even hit the gym at all, it's probably gonna be a rough go for him.
He's not gonna. No, he's not gonna hit the gym if he doesn't have to.
Here, I'll show you.
Oh my, yeah. The Photoshop stuff is good.
I love the Booger McFarlane. Is that Booger McFarlane?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Or is that a Photoshop? I just love the Photoshop of Zion.
Yeah, the internet's undefeated with this stuff.
Oh man, that's too good. That's too good.
I like it.
Man, we started right out of the gate with some basketball talk, and it's shaping up, and that's gonna have to be what we all jump into pretty soon here because the NFL season is quickly coming to a wrap here.
Yeah, I mean it'll be over in a month.
Man, last weekend.
Yeah. The season. I was gonna say the season ends in a month, but you might have thought your season was ending.
I thought so
a week ago,
but I had a crazy weekend. So first off, that the game to start off, I mean, there were so many things that the Steelers had. It was not so many things. What was the three things? They had to beat the Ravens. The Colts had to lose to the Jaguars, and then that last game between the Chargers and the Raiders could not be a tie.
Well, and let's not even get to what the second and third criteria were, because the first thing out of all of it is the Colts have to lose.
Right. Well, no, I mean, I would even go out to say that the first thing is that the Steelers had to get it done in Baltimore at the Ravens, even though they had Tyler Huntley, and the Ravens ended up being not as good as this year's.
Well, the only reason I say the other stipulation is that if you're in the Steeler locker room, even at halftime of the game, and you're curious and you say, hey, put the Colts Jaguars game up on the big board so we know where we stand, and you turn that on and all of a sudden you see the Colts up 28-7.
Yeah,
then it doesn't matter what you go out and do in the second half, right? But you turn it on at halftime and you see that the Jaguars are the inverse of that. They're up 20-something to 7 points. Right. Or I don't even think they had 7 at that point.
It's at this point.
Then you go like, okay.
Well, and I woke up that day. With zero hope. I mean, not hope. I hoped that Ben would go to Baltimore and get it done, at least for his last game. In my head, the Colts. I mean, you could go back in the chat, right? In our conversation we have, I said the Colts said the Jaguars don't stand a chance. So, but at least I hope the Steelers get a win for their last game. That's what I said. And I think even you were like, "Yep." Obviously it's the way this is. That's cool. What a good run. Nice for Ben. Made the play. Or almost made the playoffs. Will win over 500 at least. Last, he had that send off at home. Then he goes on the road. Hope for a win in Baltimore. It'd be a nice little ending to that. And they won that game, and they won it ugly. They won it in overtime.
Oh, it was an ugly game for sure.
They won it in overtime with a field goal, Steelers fashion. Of course, that's the Ravens and Steelers. It's typically that's the game, is field goals, a game of attrition,
I thought Latavius Murray was going to single-handedly beat you guys. I think he had like 150 yards. He comes out, they get the ball first, right? In overtime. He has a first down run. He looks good, has another like 3 or 4 yard run where I'm like, okay, they're just going to keep feeding him. And then they don't.
Yeah.
And then they punt it. Like, if they at least get into field goal range, you go, oh, it's Justin Tucker time. They punt it. Steelers, I mean, they hadn't moved the ball. They hadn't scored touchdowns a lot in the game, but they get themselves in the field goal range quite a bit.
They do, yeah. They're good at getting to the red zone.
They're also really good at getting themselves on the outskirts of field goal range and then deciding to go for it on 4th and 2. I don't know if you've noticed that, but one thing I've noticed is that they're one of those teams similar to the Chargers. We definitely saw that in the late game, but we'll circle back to that. Similar to the Chargers. Yeah, similar to because it's important to this whole story, but we'll circle back to it. But similar to the Chargers, they really like to go for it, especially when it's not a short field goal. And here's the only reason that I disagree with it for your team. Not for them, but for your team. Because they don't have a very good defense. You guys do. So field goals matter. And if I feel like if the Steelers are going to do well, maybe not against the Chiefs, they're going to need to score touchdowns. But further down the road in the playoffs, they need to realize that some of these field goals matter. And maybe you wouldn't be clenching your butt cheeks together in overtime if they just realize that field goals matter. But also, isn't that why like people like if you're not a Steeler fan but a Tomlin fan, right? Like if you grew up in the Tomlin generation, you just like it that he's like, let's go for the win. Like, let's not go for ties. Let's go for the win. It's funny because they tie more than anybody.
Yeah, that is one of the endearing things, though, is that I do like that they'll go for it, and that Tomlin traditionally will. He's like, all right, we're going for it.
He doesn't play for the tie, but how many ties do they have since you've been alive? 3? No other team has that. They have 3. They have 3 ties in the Tomlin generation.
They have 2 ties in the last 5 seasons.
Oh, when they tied Atlanta, that might have been before Tomlin. So, but still.
But they tied the Browns, right? Last year or the year before they tied the Browns.
And then they tied the Falcons when we were all younger.
Yeah. And then they've tied the Lions this year now.
I'm figuring this out.
So a lot of ties. I mean, too many ties.
So no team. Oh yeah, all these stats go back to like prior to the 70s, and apparently it happened much more. So that shouldn't have been the way to do it. But let's see how many times it's happened. They tied against Detroit. They tied against Cleveland. That was 2018, so time goes by pretty quick.
Right.
They tied against Atlanta in 2002, so that was before.
Okay, right before. Yeah, it was before. So, but still, 2 ties in the last 5 years.
They also had the first tie in the modern day NFL. So in 1974, September 22nd, they tied the Denver Broncos for the first tie in the modern Super Bowl era.
That's funny.
So they have the most ties since the Super Bowl started.
Okay. So they go out and they do get it done in Baltimore. And that morning, though, I wasn't really paying attention to the other games. So I didn't tune into that Colts-Jaguars game or even look at the score because I just figured the Colts were going to win. But then during the Steelers game, they started showing stuff from the other game.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the Colts, who were by the football gods handed their playoff spot by having the Jaguars for that final game. And it just fell apart.
They didn't shut them down for the whole game, but in the first half of that game, the Jaguars looked as good as any other team has looked in the last 2 years at stopping Jonathan Taylor. And I've been a huge Wentz guy on the show for a couple of years. And where the fuck was he? Where the fuck was Carson Wentz?
Goose egg. And by the way, the Jaguars were also playing. They played up. I mean, they were playing spoiler. And a lot of people. I mean, you just know. I mean, look at the Lions and the Packers. You know, the Lions weren't even playing spoiler. They're just playing to get a win for their last game of the season.
Yep. Well,
and for the Jaguars are too. No coach or no head coach. No, they just went out and played their hearts out, to play spoiler.
Well, and I had a little fun with that this last weekend because I had a long shot, but I did have a shot to win the pick'em. So I got that Lions pick. I got Miami over New England, but there were some that no matter what world I lived in, I could have seen coming. And one of them was definitely the Jags Colts. I had to toot my own horn about some of the other ones I got, but that one I was like, man, like
nobody did.
Seahawks over Cardinals, sure, right? Sure. So what's funny about the Lions win is that the Jaguars go out there to play spoiler, and they still end up with the number 1 overall pick because the Lions win. So it's a win-win for them. The Lions, if you're them, you're like, shit, Jaguars just won. We should not have been trying to beat the Packers, but they have a coach where he's not going to let him go out there and try to lose a game.
No, he wants to win. And also, by the way, Goff looked good. And, I mean, the Lions looked good. They looked like a good team. It's just,
The skinny there is they got one more year of Goff, I think. I think he's getting one more year to...
I think so, too. And I think it's for the best. I actually do think give him a fair shot. He's not the worst quarterback in the league.
Yeah, I mean...
He's been to a Super Bowl. I mean...
He's accomplished more than the guy technically he was traded for. So technically, he's won a playoff game. Technically,
he's won a playoff game.
Technically,
and he's gone to a Super Bowl.
Technically,
okay. So
the worst Super Bowl ever. Did you see the chat? By the way, Sean really wants our attention. It's been funny. We just haven't been giving it to him.
By the way, yes, it is the worst Super Bowl that we've ever seen. Also,
yeah.
Well, actually, I would also say I'd say Buccaneers and Chiefs now last year actually might take the cake for that. That might be one of the worst displays. Oh man, Randy, these comments, all of these things, that just fuels the fire, man. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for it to I'm so excited. Because I think that I by the way, I'm screenshotting this right now, Randy. I've been saving all of these.
Randy just gave you like stroke material for tomorrow night.
I'm screenshotting this, Randy. I've been saving all of these. I've been saving different Twitter tweets that I've seen from some of my friends. I've saved in class for my high school classes. I've been saving just little mental images of the
wait.
Said to me
your high school classes. Are you planning on strutting into work to work on Monday?
I told them all that on Tuesday, it's MLK Day Monday. I said on Tuesday when I come, I said I want you all to know that if the Steelers win this weekend, I'm gonna be insufferable on Tuesday, and I want you all to know that.
Man,
be prepared for it.
So just to, we got some extra comments in here, which I'm very excited about.
We'll rewind a little bit here, so let's go. Boys, Sean, happy birthday.
Yeah. Sean, who's always been here, is actually not here this time, but he is still here in spirit.
Picks, Bills, Bengals, wants the Steelers to win. Niners, wants Eagles, but thinks Bucks. These are great picks, actually.
Well, easy to agree with. Mine are different. I'm doing like the playoff pick 'em, and I do have some different ones than that, and we'll get there. I also saw Zach Schneider's question about he's a Dallas fan, so I know he's going to have questions about that. Now, I don't want to go too far into this yet, but everyone is on the Niners bandwagon for this week. It seems like that is the most trendy road team to pick. I do think they are the most dangerous road team, but also almost because of all the hype that they're getting, I'm a little concerned. Yeah,
actually, so Zach, Colin Cowherd had a great tweet about this. He tweeted that, I'll paraphrase, but he said the Cowboys have been hearing all week that the Niners can play spoiler for them, and hearing it that much puts the chip back on your shoulder, and because of that, he went back to the Cowboys.
Right.
He was taking the Niners too, but now we've been hearing all week that the Niners could play spoiler. So now I think a new chip on Dallas.
And the other thing is I think people are comparing Cowboys that aren't Cowboys anymore. Like, this is not the old era Cowboys who have the 1 seed and they go and lose, the very first game that they play in the playoffs. This is a completely different coaching staff. The only 2 people that really remind me of that team are Zeke and Dak was a baby in that game. So it's also the Cowboys at home, which besides for the Cardinals and Broncos game, Schneider might know better than I do, but besides for the Broncos and Cardinals games, they were putting up like 30 plus points every single home game. So it'll be interesting. It'll be close. Maybe you could see some disappointment in Dallas, but I've tilted back in their direction. I think it is a good game, but
I might need you to resend me that link for for that fantasy.
Okay.
I'm looking in the chat, and sorry, I didn't mean to.
No worries.
I'm gonna get it done.
But back to last weekend, right? So it all comes down. You guys get it done.
First off, the Colts don't get it done. I found it. The Colts don't get it done, which for the rest of the day, I'm thinking this is it. Like, oh my God, we're going to the playoffs. Like, they're not going to tie. The Raiders and Chargers aren't going to tie.
I thought you guys might tie, and then I was like, I had to start Googling 2 ties in a season.
I was like, okay, Raiders, Chargers, they're not going to tie. But then I didn't know that a tie between those 2 teams would guarantee that both teams go into the playoffs. I didn't know that right before the game.
Oh, the Chargers Raiders?
Or Chargers Raiders, yeah. I didn't send them both to the playoffs. So they mentioned that during the game, of course. And I go, oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I did. Like the week before is when Tuesday before is when they really started doing stories on it. And people were talking about would 2 teams actually go out and just both kneel down the whole time. We knew them being rivals that wouldn't be the case. But the fear is it's 21-21 in the fourth quarter. No team has any reason to be aggressive. And we're in the chat. Me and you were texting during the game. Mm-hmm. And it's a weird number. The Raiders are up by 12. And I said, doesn't look like it's going to be a tie. The Raiders kick a field goal, go up 15. And the very next thing I do in the chat is I say, Chargers score, go for 2, get it, score a touchdown. This goes to overtime. And that's exactly what happens. And that was my worst fear, actually. I was only projecting. Because when you're watching sports and like the fear starts to take over and you just start throwing out garbage that you're afraid of. So that happens. I'm 1 game back in the pick'em. I have the Chargers. David has the Raiders. I'm 1 game away from the championship belt. I go, a tie ruins me because a tie does not help when you're a game back. I need a Chargers win. So that's my worst fear. It's your worst fear because you're a Steelers fan trying to get in the playoffs. And I like that the Chargers thought in overtime that the Raiders were going to take it easy. And they moved the ball so well.
Yeah.
They played for the win. They played to send the Chargers home. And it gave me a little bit of a soft spot today going into the Raiders-Bengals game, which I think is another road team that can win. I would even say I'm more preferring Dallas at home over the Niners, and I'm now kind of switching my road pick to one of the AFC matchups, like the Raiders going and beating the Bengals, especially with the momentum that they built. Maybe we even see the Bengals look a little rusty, sitting their best players last week. Maybe they look fresh, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think it opens up a world of possibilities.
Yeah. So basically, I sent you that picture of the meme, and this will help answer Randy's question. Truthfully, as a fan, I'm just excited Ben gets 1 more game. So, yeah, I mean, and Randy, by the way, you could say, let's go ahead and just drop back real quick because I always like to throw out this little red herring, but I can't remember what time is the Jets game this weekend. What time is that game? Is that the early game, or is that the evening game, or is that next year?
Their game starts September 2nd, 2022 at 11 a.m.
I can't remember what time does your foundationally bad team play this weekend. Also, by the way, let's just real quick. Let's just throw these out here. Let's throw these out here real quick. The Jets. What time do they play? Real quick to Browns fans. What time do the Browns play this weekend? I can't remember what time do they play the Jets? I can't remember. And then the Ravens also. What time do they play? I can't. I don't remember. Oh, and then one more. Sorry, just one more. This is just a quick gloat. I can't remember what time. What time do the Seahawks play this weekend? Also, do they have a game? Look, we're there, man, and you're not. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. By the way, I don't think this Chiefs game's a gimme. By the way, the Chiefs barely won their game. The Broncos don't fumble. The Chiefs don't win that game. The Broncos had that game. They had a huge fumble.
Oh, I'm not able to share the things anymore. Okay. But Zach's asking you some questions.
Okay, let's check it out. Okay. We're still going. Yeah. I mean, I still think. Oh man,
if they win a playoff game, they're replacing Big Ben with Big Ben. You know he's going to change his mind.
Zach, I truthfully, I do believe this. If they win, if they beat Kansas City and that's it, Ben's back next year. He does not retire.
Otherwise, I hate to say it, but I think the exact person you don't want to be his backup, it's going to be Mason Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph's going to get the start. Now, that said, I don't think it'll be for a whole season. And if it is for the whole season, he won't keep it. He's not going to. It's going to be Mason Rudolph. But my hope is they take a chance on Dwayne Haskins. That's who I want. I want to give a fair shot to Dwayne Haskins, or let's make a run. Let's go get Russell Wilson. Let's go for it. Who cares? Get Russell. Let's go. Not Aaron Rodgers now. I don't want him now. I don't want him near my team. I don't want to hear him. I don't want to hear him.
I hope. Oh, you really want to see Hawk? I hope.
No, I won't.
That Mason Rudolph isn't there, but this is what I see their QB room looking like next year. Mason Rudolph, Dwayne Haskins, and the rookie Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh. University of Pittsburgh guy will be there wherever they draft in the first round.
Hero, hometown hero.
Yeah. Best fake slide in the business because Kyler Murray hasn't tried it yet. Best fake slide in the game. And that's what I think happens.
Pick it. I'll take it. I also think actually, yes, I would also entertain this. I would also entertain Garoppolo. I would also entertain.
That's a great fit, by the way.
Yeah, it is. And then I will also entertain one more. It's risky, I know. And I also know it's not going to be a popular thing to say out loud. I still entertain Deshaun Watson despite everything going on with that.
Just by having this conversation, it just shows that there are a lot of options.
There are options, yeah.
It's like the coaching situation. We're going to probably have 8 coaching vacancies. There are a lot of options.
I also saw, I can't remember what I saw this on. I also saw them entertaining like fans probably. I've heard Gardner Minshew like picking him up as a
flyer, someone that can stopgap for a year. Yeah, I mean that's the other option. Another name that not a lot of people are talking about, but if you're looking for a stopgap, Marcus Mariota. Now
I would love Marcus Mariota because I've said that last year. I would have lived after that big game with the Chargers. I mean that was a lot of fun. I was like, man, Mariota's still.
I think he had the options this last year, but he didn't like any of them, which is why he re-signed with the Raiders for 1 year. And I think it sets himself even up. Listen, a couple of the times, even last week when they did go and put him in the Wildcat multiple times, he looks great. I haven't seen him pass the ball a lot. I've seen him run the ball very well, but who knows? I think that's a good spot for him because of how many weapons they have, because of Najee. Freiermuth's going to be even better next year. Great receiving core. Hopefully they can protect him. So that's another rando.
So I have my gloating section, but overall I'll say I've been happy with how the season turned out. Honestly, in a lot of ways, even more happy than how it turned out last year, even though we had that awesome 11-0 run. There's more losses this year, but I do feel like I have more hope going into the playoff. This is weird, but they're playing the Chiefs, but I feel like I have more hope with them playing the Chiefs in their playoff game than even I had going into the Browns last year with that game. So, for me, I'm pretty excited about it. Would the Steelers trade to get a QB?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they would.
Trade to get a QB this year? Yeah, I mean, it says in the draft. I was going to say not in the no, because only one quarterback is projected. Probably the guy from Liberty is the only guy who's actually going to go high enough to where they can't get their hands on him regardless. Kenny Pickett would be the guy, and he will be available there. There's obviously the North Carolina option, but I think he'll be there as well. There's people that were projected this year to be first-round picks who aren't even going to be in the draft anymore, like Spencer Rattler, because the year didn't go as planned. So I don't know who they would need to trade up for. It would be more likely that they traded for a Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, or an Aaron Rodgers. That's a lot more likely.
And truthfully, I would be happier with a free agent with something like that. Somebody already playing. Although Pickett would be, I'm open. I'm open toward it. It's been a fun season, been a good run. Okay, so that said, Steelers are there. Steelers and Chiefs. It's gonna be a tough game. I'm currently signing up for this fantasy. So.
By the way, Zach, I wasn't trying to throw Spencer Rattler or Oklahoma under the bus there. If anything, I think Oklahoma was better after they moved on from him. So you guys are probably better off. And they're just going to keep pulling in QBs anyways. More interested to see who their next coach is, though. I honestly think Garoppolo would be the best option. From Zach, yes. If I was a Steeler fan, and I kind of have been vicariously through Sean, my dad, and Derek for the last decade or so, I would prefer Jimmy G and a contract that's probably only going to exist for a couple of years over probably having to bring in Rodgers or Russell Wilson on a brand new contract. And then Deshaun Watson might not even be a real life option. So yeah, bring in Jimmy G. I think he fits well. And the Niners are kind of in a situation where even if he plays well in the playoffs, they've drafted their way into a situation where they have to move on. So he's going to be available. And I think they can get him for not as much as any other QB they try to go after. So they don't even need a first rounder to trade for Jimmy G.
Now on this NFL app, what is it that we're doing here?
It's the playoff challenge.
Playoff challenge.
Same with Schneider. If you want in on the playoff challenge, the group is called Dudes Across America, and the password is dudes.
It's hard when you go on the website. It doesn't really just pop up with the playoff challenge. It's kind of hard to find. So, but
they do it. No one does a worse job. Which is funny. No one does a worse job than the NFL with any sort of NFL game thing. Like if you're talking about like a pick'em or the playoff challenge or regular fantasy, no one is worse than NFL fantasy.
Yeah.
But we play it every year. We've been playing it for a decade, so we keep playing it. Every year I don't want to set up the group again. And every year I get at least 10 people asking me, hey, when are you setting up the group? And I go, I don't have to set up anything. I literally just log in and it activates it. And I log into NFL.com once a year, and that's to get this group going.
All right.
And I win a lot. I've won like 5 of the 10 times.
I switched to a computer to make this work. So hopefully
you have to. By the way, that's the other thing. If you have to switch to a computer to make things work, you're doing bad in 2022.
Yeah, because I couldn't figure it out on the phone at all.
Sorry again about fantasy this year. You scored the second most points and always get second. Yes, I know. Not only that, I didn't score the second most points. I scored the most points. Okay, he said that right. I score the most points in almost every league. I scored the most points in 3 leagues, second most points in a 4th league, and I never win. And it's not just that league. I never win any league, and I lead the league in scoring every year. It is. I don't want to talk about it, but that's just kind of how life goes for me. For this week's games, though, I think there are some upsets that happen.
Me too. And we can talk about it. I'm getting there now. So the playoff challenge. Oh my God, this is even the website is just real bad.
So the goal, by the way, of the playoff challenge is to pick people you think are going to be there long term, because it multiplies every week. So if you pick a bunch of Steelers and they go home after 1 week, then no points week 2. I traditionally take the teams on the bye. That way, the week 2, I get the automatic ×2 multiplier. So Packers have done me good the last couple of years, and then last minute done me dirty.
I think I did this for work, and last year I was fortunate enough that I took
Chiefs.
I went Tom Brady for my quarterback, and that proved to be very nice for me.
Zach's next question is, because he's pumping us full of content today, by the way. And there's one thing I love being pumped full of. Actually, the only thing I like being pumped full of is content.
Let's talk about, okay, first off, Sean, the birthday boy. I'm a fantasy football god. Zach, let's talk about this. Let's just go ahead and get this out. We've talked about it on the show already. As soon as they played each other this season, I started noticing that they started pushing that narrative very quickly. I do think there's a chance. If it is, though, I'm gonna go back to the "it's rigged" thing. I'm gonna go back to it.
Or it's just a historically really good coach and a historically really good quarterback. But
sure.
But I'm gonna take the opposite road here, not intentionally to counter anybody, but just because I truly believe this. Neither of these teams will make the Super Bowl. We're not getting a Pats Bucks Super Bowl, because we're not getting a Bucks Bills Super Bowl. We're not getting a Bucks Titans Super Bowl. We're not getting a Pats Packers Super Bowl. Neither of these teams will be in it. I think the two likely suspects are the Packers and the Chiefs. And I've been saying this week that I kind of feel like the Packers will find a way, like they always do, to screw up the NFC Championship. And so
I can't search the group.
Don't be surprised if either the Cowboys or the Niners or the Rams find a way in for the NFC. And then for the AFC, Chiefs, I think, far and ahead the best team. And then the next team would probably not be the Titans, even if Henry's back, but it would probably be the Bills. But I have the Pats losing this weekend, so that's the other reason that I say that.
There was an error, input valid search query. I'm looking for the group.
Just follow the actual link. That's all you got to do.
But it doesn't like me.
Follow the link from your computer. That's what I would do. If I Facebook it to you, we can worry about it after the game, even.
I'll figure it out.
Or after this.
I'll figure it out.
Rams are my pick, but you really think Dallas or the Niners? I think anybody, like the Niners, don't let the record confuse you. The Niners are as good as the year they went to the Super Bowl. Dallas, it depends. Like Zach, you're a Cowboys fan, so you understand that they haven't played a lot of their defensive players. Like, we haven't seen their fully capable pass rush for a couple weeks now. So I think we're going to see that. I think their offense can go to another level in the playoffs. I think they've been not babying both their running backs, but I think we can see more out of both of them. I think there's just more to be seen from that team. So I think the team who wins out of the Niners pack or Niners Cowboys can go on a run for sure. But then, yes, Rams would be a very trendy pick. The winner of that game is a very trendy pick. The Dallas D, I don't know if they're overrated. Once again, I got to see them all together, but you've seen more games than I have, I'm sure. So if you're saying they're overrated, they might be. Okay.
All right.
But
I'm pulling up a playoffs bracket. Do we want to go through these and make some picks?
let's do it.
Okay. I've temporarily given up on the.
Yeah, just wait until after the show. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to get into the show.
Well, I was just gonna do it, and then then I would have.
Then you have it.
Yeah.
If you're not planning on taking any Raiders or Bengals, though, then don't worry about it.
Yeah.
If you are planning on taking Raiders or Bengals, then yeah, get your picks in.
All right, here we go. Here's the bracket, though. We could just go through it, and yeah.
Perfect. Oh, this is nice.
So let's go first. We'll go first round.
There we go.
And then maybe I can go. There we go. This will work. And you could get this advertisement too for
HBO Max.
Stop seeing this ad. Ad was inappropriate. All right. So yeah, let's go through these then. So Chiefs Steelers. I am going to take my team on. I'm just going to take my team through to the end. So I am going to go Steelers. I actually do think that regardless of how this game ends out, I do not think it is the same game as when they met last time. So I think if the Chiefs win, I don't think it's close or I don't think it was a blowout like it was last time.
I will be obviously rooting for you guys in spirit, but because of the game that happened last time and not very long ago,
right?
And on my playoff fantasy team, you will notice I have the Chiefs defense because I'm going to ride it all the way to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I think they have two favorable matchups. And not only do I think they beat the Steelers, but then I think whoever did win this game was going to beat the Titans. They're making a run.
And I want to talk about that too, because the Titans are the number one seed and got the bye week, but I think they might be the team I'm least confident in with a bye week.
I agree with you.
I don't have very much confidence in the Titans at all. I definitely don't have them picked to go to the Super Bowl.
It'll be interesting to see them with Henry back, but yeah, until I actually see him on the field, I don't know.
So Bill, and I think so Bills Patriots. So I'm gonna take the Bills, but it's because I want them to win.
Zach's question is were you asking how the Chiefs are on the road or how are the Steelers on the road? Because the Chiefs' last two losses are both road games to the Bengals and the Titans, two teams that they could be definitely running into pretty soon.
The Steelers have been mediocre at best on the road. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Bills, Patriots. I am going Bills in this one. Steelers on the road, not great.
Yeah, I think outside of the Patriot game when they only had to pass the ball 3 times, I think in a game where I know it's going to be cold, but they're still going to be able to pass the ball. In a game where you can pass the ball, I take the Bills every time over the Patriots. I just don't think Mac Jones is ready to take them to the next level. And their defense is playing well.
I'm also just not going to take a rookie quarterback to go to the Super Bowl. Like I'm not going to do it.
I'm not going to take a rookie quarterback to win a wild card game.
That's a lot on your plate.
But I do think that they found the guy that they're going to have for a while.
I do too.
Even though he's basically just Davis Mills. And I'll say that forever. Davis Mills went in the 3rd round. They're the same quarterback.
Yeah. So are you taking the Bills too? Sean also took the Bills. Here, let me pull his up. We'll have his up. Honorary picks. Bills. Bengals. I'm also going Bengals at home. Now that said, though, I'm going to root for the Raiders.
I've had the Raiders all week, but the closer we get to this game starting, which is only about 45 minutes away, the more I just think about how hard that game was against the Chargers, right?
Yeah.
How it was the last game to happen, how the Bengals are going to be fresh because Joe got last week off. Their running back got last week off. I'm going with the Bengals at home. But once again, I agree with you. I'll be rooting for the Raiders all the way.
Zach Schneider has the same picks as Sean. Cool. Very good. Okay. So you're going with Bengals.
Yes.
I'm going Bengals too, but like I said, I will root for the Raiders to at least get the wild card game. Why not? Also, Bengals are a division rival, so screw them. Like, in the end, screw them. It's not if it was the Ravens, I have a soft spot for the Ravens.
If your team's not in the playoffs anymore, right?
Yeah, if they're not in the playoffs anymore. If let's say the Bengals make it on and Steelers when they don't, maybe I'll go Bengals, but maybe not. I do like Joe Burrow though. Okay, no. So on the other side, on the NFC, we got the Bucks and the Eagles. I think the Eagles are gonna spoil it.
This does seem like a nothing to lose type of game. Seems very similar to the Steelers game on the other side of the bracket. Just nothing to lose here.
Oh, I do remember that, Zach. I do remember that.
Yeah, because
I don't know if you guys have seen the meme, but we've never been able to send a text saying the Bengals have won a playoff game.
Man, that's true. And not only that, but Andy Dalton, it wasn't just playoff games. It was primetime games too, right? Couldn't win on Sunday night. Couldn't win on Monday night.
Nope.
Couldn't win in the playoffs. This seems very similar to the Steeler game, though. Nothing to lose. But I also think the Bucks, similar to the Chiefs, win this game. One, because I got to see this Bucks-Packers rematch from last year. One, I think the Packers were the better team. There's always some suspect plays in every game, but man, the Packers should have won that game.
Sword and scale goes Raiders win. Fair. I like it. I hope it.
I think they can. Listen, no one has more momentum, right, going into this. I think they have the most momentum of any team playing on a wild card weekend. Me picking the Bengals is almost just because they're more well rested, and let's be real, they have more options on offense. But the Raiders have been winning in spite of that all year. So
on the Bucks Eagles, you're taking Bucks, but I assume rooting Eagles.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Jalen Hurts has won me over as like a human.
Same.
Yeah. So, and their coach has too. And I like the best rushing defense versus the best rushing offense matchup as well. So I'll be interested in this game.
Zach, I don't know if Mixon is fully healthy, but I do think he is absolutely playing, and I think he's probably fine.
Him and Joe got that week off. I think they're good to go. That's why I like them.
But I do think he's going to be fine, and he's going to get a lot. I think he's going to get a lot of touches.
Yeah.
I am taking the Eagles, though. I think the Eagles are going to upset the Buccaneers. And the reason why I think it is because they have everything and simultaneously everything and nothing to play for. They're not favorites to win a Super Bowl. They weren't even favorites to get into these playoffs. And they still have the best rushing. They had the best rushing in the league. Now, I know a lot of that was just Jalen Hurts calling his own number and just running for his life. But
yeah, that was just Jalen Hurts making fantasy owners happy, not really them trying to win games. But I don't know. They play tough. They play tough football. They play hard. They got to keep the ball away from the Bucs, and then the Bucs just have to I know that Antonio Brown's gone now. Godwin's out for the year. Fournette, I don't know when he's coming back. So that could play a huge factor. I'm just not ever in my life going to take Tom Brady to lose a home playoff game in the wild card round.
Yeah. And that's an absolutely fair thing to say. I mean, I by the way, be prepared to see Gronk get a lot of touches.
Oh, that's his go-to guy. Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be. So this is where it'll be. He lies dormant sometimes, and then you got the playoffs, and that's where Gronk's going to raise his ugly head. That's the way it goes. Cowboys, Niners. Now, I desperately want the Cowboys to lose this game because I do not like the Cowboys and never will. That said, I think this is a coin toss game for me. I honestly think it's not a gimme. I don't think it's going to be a very high score. I'm going to take the Niners.
Yeah.
But I would be I'm not going to be surprised, I guess, if the Cowboys win. I'm not going to be surprised if the Raiders win or the Niners win. I'm not. No surprises for either of these two teams. By the way, this could be a game of the week.
I think it's the best matchup. I mean, the next matchup's really good too.
Yeah.
But I do think this is the most even of two teams. Really close second to the next one we're going to talk about. I get why the Niners is the trendy pick, but like I said, as this game's gotten closer and closer, I get that too. I get that going into the playoffs is more kind of about who's on the best run, not really who has the best record. That seems to be how it goes most years. But I do think this is a different Cowboys team than what we've seen in the past. Will they be able to stop Mitchell in their running game, Debo and Kittle in their passing game? I don't know. I also think Jimmy Garoppolo is probably the most underrated quarterback in the last 4 minutes of a game I've ever heard. Like people talk about, he moves the ball. He gets whatever you need. If you need a touchdown, he finds a way to get you the touchdown. You need a field goal, he finds a way to get you the field goal.
Which is, by the way, everything that you're saying right now is, by the way, the reason why Garoppolo would be really good on the Steelers. That's actually why he would fit in really well with the Steelers. All of that. The last, 2-minute drills. He sometimes he gets the job done. Ugly. I mean, all of those stuff. That's stuff that you use to describe Ben's whole career. Like, it could be ugly. The win could be ugly.
And yes, I do. Zach asked that last question. I think it's about how you go into the playoffs. I think the Packers were really smart. I know they lost that last game, but just putting their offense out there for half a game and moving the ball really well against the Lions before like blatantly throwing the second half, which is why I took the Lions in that game because it was obvious that was their strategy. Yes, win or lose, you need to go in the playoffs with momentum on both sides of the ball. That's what's scary about the Bengals-Raiders matchup. That's what's scary about this matchup. And I think that's what's interesting about the next matchup is that it almost seemed like the Rams and the Cardinals didn't care if they won last week. So that's why that one's really interesting to me. But you do have to have some sort of momentum. You also just have to have your play calling like working, right? Like you have to be firing on all cylinders on now we're doing this, now we're doing that, like execution, because execution is the most important part.
For the show's sake, Steelers-Niners would be best bet for this whole thing, by the way. For the sake of this show, Steelers-Niners is best bet for Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm in a couple pick'em groups. I will be switching to Dallas. I still actually have the Niners pick, but I will be switching that game to Dallas.
Okay. So the final game, which by the way, Monday night, I don't want to see a Monday night playoff game. I don't know. I'm glad you agree. I would have rather have had 3 games today.
It's just not even like, what do you do with the players then? You say like, oh, well, don't worry, we'll make you play Sunday. You don't have to play Saturday or next week, right? At least, but that's still one less day than whoever they're playing against.
Yeah. And it's just also, I don't need a primetime wild card game.
After they expanded the playoffs last year, they must have just realized that the 3 Saturday games didn't do very well. Like
answering that question, good timing. I think so too. I think the 3rd game didn't get the ratings that they wanted.
What is the one today? There's like one that it seemed like it was a kind of a slap in the face. Oh, Patriots Bills as a late Saturday game when people are going to dinner with their spouses or going, if they're younger, they're going out. If they're, you know what I mean? Like that is we know that only Bills and Patriots fans are going to watch the game time slot. I think the Saturday games didn't do very well last year. I think there's usually one good time slot on Saturday to put an early game, no one's going to watch it. An end of day game, no one's going to watch it. That middle of the day game is really, even though it's Bengals Raiders, is going to be the most watched game today.
Do you like seeing this many wild card games?
I didn't think they needed to expand. I feel almost the same way as I did about the college football playoffs. Like I think you could just go hand pick the 2 best teams and put them against each other in college. Here, I don't know if you needed the extra stuff, But the reason I would counter that is, man, was last week enjoyable because of those extra spots.
Yep. I mean, it really was, right? I mean, it definitely makes things exciting.
It was the extra. There was the extra week. There was the extra teams. I thought it was a huge success for the NFL. Yeah. No, this is a lot. I'm not going to watch most of these games. Usually I watch all of the wild card games. I will watch a couple of these.
The other thing I don't like about this, the way this is set up, is that today is 2 AFC games and tomorrow's 2 NFC games and 1 AFC game, and then the NFC game on Monday. I for some reason, just the organization of it bothers me. I don't like that it's 2 AFC. I don't like there's an AFC game tomorrow. I'd rather see it all in one day. AFC Saturday, NFC Sunday. Call it. I also don't like that the Steelers and the Kansas City Chiefs are 5. It's a primetime game on Sunday. I do not like that.
Oh, that's actually my favorite time slot is the Sunday night games. But
no, the reason why I don't want to see that is because that's on NBC.
Oh yeah, it's a Collinsworth game.
The Collinsworth game. I don't want to hear him during that game. That's going to be, by the way, if you're a Steelers fan and you're watching that game tomorrow night, that's going to be very heavy. Everyone in that booth, everyone in that field that's not wearing black or gold is going to be a Chiefs apologist / fan / whatever. Collinsworth is going to just be stroking the Chiefs the whole game.
Oh, for sure.
And I was disappointed to see that. I don't want to see that. But whatever. It is what it is. We got to deal with Collinsworth. Everyone knows if you're a football fan, you got to deal with Collinsworth.
We got one more game.
One more game. Rams and Cardinals. Okay. I'm going to go Rams. I think the Cardinals are going to choke.
After the Rams re-signed Weddle after being retired for 2 years, I got a little concerned about what they got going on the defensive end.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I also think the Cardinals were starting to lose momentum going into this week. I think that they had a couple weeks where they kind of started slipping right. They had the loss to the Colts, lost to the Lions, lost to the Rams all in a row. They come back and beat Dallas, but then they lose to the Seahawks again. So they've lost 4 of their last 5.
Yeah.
That sketches me out. 4 of their last 5 games, I don't see them just flipping a switch. So I'm going to take the Rams regardless of what they've done with their defense, regardless of if one of their defensive backs is hurt. I don't think that's a huge deal.
By the way, the coach for the Rams has been in the playoffs and has won playoff games.
I agree with that as the difference maker, but I think this is a 3-point finish. I really do. Okay. Yeah, Schneider's taking Arizona. I don't blame you, man. If you looked at Arizona until the last 5 weeks of the season, they were the best team in the NFL.
Yeah. No, this is also true too. Yes, I 100% agree with this. If Murray gets hot early, they win. It's always the same thing I say with Cam Newton back in his prime, right? If he's having a good day and he's off to a hot start, that team probably wins. I
mean, they have people like Chandler Jones on defense. I really like when they get Connors going on offense a lot. When Ertz shows up, he's had a couple catches this year where, a couple plays where he looks like young Ertz. DeAndre Hopkins is a huge loss, though. But they do have enough dudes to win this game.
I still think they should have picked up Fitzgerald.
I'm picking the Rams by the smallest of margins, but if tomorrow rolls around and my pick'em's not doing so great, this is the game that I would switch.
My original pick by the way, at the beginning of the season, if you remember, my original pick for the Super Bowl was Bills-Rams. So if I went by my original pick, which is Bills-Rams, then Rams win this game. No, I didn't think the Rams were going to be in the wild card game. I actually thought they were going to. I thought they could win the conference. Go number 1 seed.
Yeah, it just depends which Cardinals team we see. Is it the last 5 weeks or is it the team before that? Because the team before that, actually not even the last 5 weeks, because they had a game 2 weeks ago against Dallas in Dallas where they looked outstanding again.
Zach, there was some noise on there. A few weeks ago where Fitzgerald said he would happily come back and play.
He said he was ready to go.
He said he was ready to go. He'd come back and play.
But it didn't happen.
It did not happen. I thought it would have been cool. I mean, he's a good leader. I mean, at the very least, you have him on the sidelines. He's just a good leader. But it didn't happen. It's
a better move than bringing Weddle back, who's been retired for a couple of years and is 37 and an undersized safety. But that's none of my business.
Yeah. Big Ben's good friend, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But he was a Raven, right? Yeah.
Yes.
They that was one of those stories a few years ago where Ben and he's friends with like Terrell Suggs and
Benez.
Yeah, Benez.
He fraternizes with the enemy
just from the years of having that team as a rivalry team. You know, he ended up building friendships with those defensive players, which I think is interesting.
You got to make friends with the guys who hurt you. Maybe they run into you a little less hard. They don't, but maybe. They don't.
That said, I do like Weddle. I mean, I think it's an interesting pick as well, but you know.
Well, is it really cool? I knew they would. I mean, all season long, I think we all thought 3 somehow, no matter who it was, would get in. But
I think the Cardinals exceeded my expectations for the season. I did think they would have a pretty good season. I didn't think it would be what they ended up having.
I think it's cool that it is everyone but the Seahawks. That's what I think is cool. Like, we're going to let them all in except for the Seahawks. Wow. Had to pepper that in last minute.
Hurtful.
Yeah, I'm switching back to the Niners.
September.
Yeah, we play in September.
August.
I'm switching back to the Niners.
NFC West is the hardest division, and we all know it. I would also say AFC North. Yeah.
I think those are the top 2.
Yeah. Both tough divisions.
But yeah, I think this year in particular, how can you argue with the NFC West, right? AFC West though too, you know, Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers, Broncos. I know the Chargers didn't pull it off, but you know, if they were smart and just went out there and tied it, if they just were smart and went out there and kneeled it down with the Raiders, we'd be having that conversation.
What's the least good? What's one's the Cowboys
in? NFC East?
Yeah, that's the worst one.
NFC South?
NFC South.
Saints, Panthers, Falcons, Bucks.
That might be the worst one. No, it's AFC East because
Bucks kind of save it.
Yeah, the Bucks save it, and then also those other teams have had brilliance too. The Saints have been good. If you go by last year specifically, you know, you had those 3 teams competing for a playoff spot, and they were all. You
can't say NFC East just because the Cowboys and the Eagles are in it, unless you're just implying that the Giants are so bad that it ruins the rest of it.
The Giants are the new. I would say they're the new Browns, except for the Browns are still the Browns.
Packers, Bears, Lions, Vikings.
Yeah.
Lions. Like how much do the Packers skew that? Same with the Bucks skewing the NFC South.
But the Vikings also underperformed too. I mean, I would have had them at least maybe as a wild card at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I would say best division, NFC West, worst division, NFC East. Yeah. I'm going back to it. Even Zach's saying it as a Cowboys fan. Washington and Giants ruin it.
They do. The football team and the Giants really hurt it, man. This really hurt it.
But Cowboys win this weekend. Eagles win this weekend. I completely changed my tune. On next week's show, I will say they are the best division in football if they win both those games.
If they face off again.
Yeah. I'll change my mind.
Man. What's the new team for the Washington football team? Is this Washington football team for men or?
I think it's the Washington Football Club for men and boys who will one day be men.
Yep. I don't think they chose a team yet. I don't think they chose a name. I know the Cleveland, the baseball team, they did.
I think they should be the Washington Wild Boys.
The
Wiki Wild Boys.
Ooh, I love that.
The full name.
Yeah, so there we go. That's our picks for the weekend. Man, playoff weekend. I can't believe it's already here. 2022 is here. We're there. I think it's going to be a good weekend of sports. Some of these should be some really good games. Bills, Patriots, I could expect to be a pretty good game. Cowboys, Niners, Rams, Cardinals. I think maybe the duds could be Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Eagles, Bucks could easily be duds. I mean, because realistically, the Bucks could actually go out there and maybe you see a blowout. I mean,
just run train. I think they could run train for sure. He said February 2nd they're going to announce the name of the team. By the way.
Oh wow, okay.
Didn't even know that they were planning on changing it. I thought they might just ride it out.
By the way, Chiefs Steelers could also be where Chiefs go out there and run train also. It could very well happen.
We could see some trains this weekend. We could also see them change their name to the artist formerly known as Redskins.
Ooh, I love it. Who's the upset? The upset I took is I am taking the Eagles over the Bucks. That is the upset for the weekend that I am taking.
I had a few, but I've switched them all, so I don't have any anymore.
I'm going to stick with Eagles over Bucks.
I had 3 upsets before we started the show, and now I'm riding all Vegas favorites. So,
I mean, there's a reason why.
Well, I actually switched back to the Niners because Schneider brought the Falcons into this, but I hope his team has a good weekend. And, Jimmy G,
now, if the Cowboys lose this, does Mike McCarthy get is he fired or anything like that? Or
I don't think so. I think, well, it depends how okay they are with losing Kellen Moore. If Kellen Moore is getting job offers, they might fire McCarthy now and move on.
Now, actually, for any of these games, if any of these teams lose, do any of these coaches get fired? Well, with the exception of the Raiders, who don't really have a permanent.
If they win, they might keep their interim coach and switch the title.
Oh, okay.
But if he does not win, they continue their coach search. That's how that goes. Every other team keeps their coach. Every other team, regardless. Cowboys would be the riskiest. That's the only risk. That's the only team that could fire their coach if they lose in the first round.
Yeah. And then what about
Kellen Moore? Kellen Moore is probably either going to the Broncos or Texans. Those are the 2 teams I think he could go to.
And I also, by the way, I'm interested to see where Brian Flores goes. I think he still could get a head coaching job. Actually, I don't even think he would have to go move back.
Yeah, and I know the Panthers still have their head coach, but don't be surprised if they last minute decide to move on from Rule and Kellen Moore ends up there.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, well, that is that's the show. Actually, that is the whole show.
Yeah, I got to bounce.
Go Warriors, go Wildcats. Man, what a great... I'm excited for this weekend. Gonna go watch some football right now.
Thanks for listening. I hope all your teams win, even if your teams are playing each other, Zach and Sean. I hope both your teams win.
Yeah. All right. Everybody have a great weekend. We love you, Sean. Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, bud. Always been here.
We'll have to watch the Super Bowl together, bud. Maybe we can get Zach to come up.
That would be the time.
That would be cool. All right. Everybody have a great weekend.